Pro Boxing Fans here with trainer of Hughie Fury, Mr. Peter Fury. We're here at the Radisson Hotel in Manchester Airport. You're shortly heading off to Saudi Arabia for Hughie's fight with Samuel Peter. What are you expecting from this Saudi Arabian experience?
It's going to be a holiday, so I look forward to it. Never been before, so it's nice to go. I might even wear all my stuff to blend in.
Traditional robes?
Yeah, you never know. Do a few interviews with them on.
Look forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
After the early stoppage of Chris Norrad last time out, Hughie steps in with Samuel Peter, 38 wins, 7 defeats. I understand you offered Hughie Fury to a couple other heavyweights. Who else were you targeting before the Peter fight was confirmed?
Eric Molina, it was too short notice for him. That's what he said at the time. And there was another fighter who fought... I said Ruiz, but it's not. I'm on about Luis Ortiz in his last fight. Who did he fight?
Kaufman,
Kaufman, yes. And he's got a rotator cuff injury, so he's still out. So we tried making good fights, and Peter, he took the fight. So that's where we are.
Peter, former world champion, decent knockout ratio, experienced guy, tested at the highest level, but certainly in the dying embers of his career. What challenges does he bring at, I'm not sure how old he is, but 38. What challenges does he bring at 38?
Well, he brings a lot, actually, because like you just said, this is what everybody expects. You know, he's dying out phase of his career, but he's 38, he's not 48. You know, let's not forget what George Foreman done at 46. You know, I know me boxing, and Peters is not being took lightly. You know, I'm hearing he's in very good shape, which I hope he is. You know, but I want Hughie in good fights. You know, I don't want Hughie in Chris Norrad fights, because these guys, that's nowhere on the box rec. You know, records is for what? It's a true saying. Records for DJs, isn't it? You know, a winning record means absolutely nothing, as we've seen there. It's all about level. So with Peters, we've got a former world champion who can carry himself. He will pose some difficulties in there. You know, and he is, when you've been a world level fighter, you've naturally got that instinct. So he'll present some challenges. It'll be a different fight than Norrad anyway.
One of my questions was going to be, what kind of shape do you expect him to be in, just because of the short notice? What leads you to believe that he has been in the gym and is going to come into this fight in good condition?
Well, I think in the past he's come up a few times. He was offered the fight a good while back, and we couldn't get near him. You know, he outpriced himself. But in this one, he was up for taking it, and all the reports are here. He's trained well. He's right down in his weight, and he's ready, and he thinks he's coming for an upset.
You've had no problem matching Hughie in competitive bouts throughout his career. Those big nights provide great experience, despite the losses to Pulev and Parker. How do you actually reflect on those fights now?
I reflect on anything. We've got a baby in the heavyweight division who's coming up, learning his job. He's not protected. Look, you can protect fighters and get them a 40-0 record. And then when you come off a world title, they're falling apart at the seams. You know, he's had his learning fights. Look, the Parker fight, we definitely thought he'd done enough to win that. So, and the Pulev fight, like I said, he was injured in sparring. And not because there's any gambles took in the sparring. We was told by a head physician that micro-stitching would hold. There wouldn't be a problem with it. And after the first round, it started coming undone. And then it split even wider. So bad circumstances for the Pulev fight. And he put his game plan out the window, because when the referee come over and said, look, that's very bad, I'll give you another round. So I just said to you, go out and stick it on him. You try and get him out of there. You've only got a round or two left. And the referee didn't do what he said. He let it roll on. So it went to the end. So all of his plans, all of his mental boxing went out the window in that fight. But again, good experience for him. He went over to Bulgaria. The cut come undone. And not just a cut. The cut's not going to bother. Look, if it was on the top of his head, it wouldn't bother me if it had an axe in there. You know, this is a boxing game. But the skin was falling over the eye. So it took the vision out. So he was up against Pulev with one eye, literally. You know, that's look at the cut. The cut doesn't mean anything. The blood was stemmed. Kerry Kay's done a magnificent job. But it was so wide, the flap fell over. And we couldn't get it above the pupil. So it was one eye.
If he wasn't fighting with one eye, I know that we can't go back and say what would have happened, but do you think that he would have won that fight if he wouldn't have suffered that cut too early?
Yeah, 100%. You've only got to look at the way the first couple of rounds was going until the cut happened. when it could happen, it all went out the window. And let's put it this way, even when it could happen for the first few rounds after, Hughie was winning it because he was taking it to Pulev, but that didn't mean anything. He obviously, he tried and couldn't. He wasn't able to get Pulev out of there. He's an experienced campaigner, but it's a shot in the dark. When you're up against it, what do? Come out fighting or sit on your stool? You come out fighting, don't you? So that's what he was told to do, and that's what he did.
One of the criticisms I just spoke to Hughie about was that he doesn't throw enough punches. He's perhaps not aggressive enough. He's fighting on primetime television, on free-to-air TV, Channel 5. How important is it for Hughie to start making sort of aggressive statements and sort of not changing his style, but maybe being more on the front foot?
Yeah, very important, and I agree with you. He's got to be more on the front foot. He's got to be crowd-pleasing, and heavyweights want to see heavyweights hit each other. So basically, he's got to land meaty shots, and this is the heavyweight division. People do need to go to start hitting the canvas. So let's see.
How difficult is it to override Hughie's instincts to not necessarily come forward? I mean, you see him every day in training. You brought him up as a fighter. How difficult do you think it's going to be to try and get him to come forward if that's not what he naturally does?
I don't think it's a case of being coming forward. It's a case of having enough brains in your mind to know you get it properly, and that's it. There ain't no heavyweights on this planet that can walk through brick walls. This is a heavyweight game. You've seen what happened with Joshua. When you get it and get it right, you won't recover. There is nobody invincible. If you get it properly, you will hit the deck. So that's what it is. So for me, defense first. But he's got all of his defense. He's a superb boxer. So now we've got to put more spice to his game. So now he's developing all the time. Look, you haven't got a finished article. You've got when fighters start, it's all progression. But you're seeing Hughie come through the ranks. He's not somebody that every time he steps up, he's being carried out the ring. This is somebody that's had 2 top world fights, had one controversial loss, and lost another one because of injury, more or less. So that's where he's at, and he's been in some good fights. So like I said, the loss means nothing. It's how you lose. It's not about the loss. It's how you lose. But like I said, we're not in the job to lose anything. So he lives and he learns and he gains great experience. And hopefully down the line, he can avenge both them fights, which we'd like to do.
Hughie said he doesn't mind which route he takes back to a world title. Have you got a strategy? Have you got any route in mind that you would like to follow?
I got no route. Every fighter, we take one fight at a time. We're going over to Saudi now. He takes this fight. We want to keep Hughie busy this year. Another 2 fights minimum this year for Hughie. And when a good fight comes, he'll take it. It doesn't really matter who it is. He'll take it. Because look, with the way politics are in boxing, it's who's at the back of you more or less, who's in with different things or whatever. So Hughie's got to take the bull by the horns, really. He's got to be able to take fights that nobody wants, so he gets the public behind him and demand that he gets the fights. So that's where we're at.
Moving on to elsewhere in the heavyweight scene, you mentioned AJ there suffering a shock defeat to Andy Ruiz. Maybe it wasn't such a shock. Were you surprised by it?
I wasn't surprised by it. Joshua's shown some very vulnerabilities in a couple of his fights. He gets, for such a tall guy, he gets hit very easily with short fighters. And I think it was always obvious. I didn't expect him to lose like he did. Ruiz is a very good fighter. I've always said Ruiz is a good fighter, not just because he's beat AJ and he's on the map. I know me boxing, so I've always said Ruiz can fight. But he fought the wrong fight against somebody who's got slow feet, and that's Ruiz. He can be outboxed. Stand in front of Ruiz, he's got fast stands, he's as tough as teak, Mexican, wears his heart on his sleeve, wants to draw you in, wants to have a fight. And I'm afraid to say, world heavyweight boxing, it's not about what the other guy wants, is it? It's about what you can do.
How do you see the rematch going?
I think if Joshua gets it, he's quite intelligent. And I think also he wasn't with it that day. I think all the hype he's had, as this superhuman being that's unbeatable, it plays a lot of pressure. And he knows in his mind he's got vulnerabilities. He'll know he's got them. So going into that fight against Ruiz, who looks like he eats fish and chips 7 days a week, yeah, but Joshua knows, forget the body, this guy can fight. So you look at all these pressures, and it seemed to weigh heavy on his mind when he's walking to the ring because his body language said, "Get me out of here." That's what it's before the bell started.
Did you read that? Because there were lots of different rumours flying about panic attacks and things. Did you see that as just pressure hanging heavy on his shoulders?
Well, there is a panic attack. There was a panic attack going on in that ring. Forget the panic attack in the dressing room, physically somebody falling on the floor. He's having a panic attack when you look at him, and his body language says he didn't want to be there, and he didn't. And look, when that fight started, he put it, like I said in one of the other interviews, he put everything on the roulette wheel. He gambled because shit or break. There was no thought process there. Look, this guy for standing there, I'm 6'6", I'll do me boxing, I'll catch him on the way in, I'll just move off, and I'll just do what I've done similar to when I fought Parker. If he'd have done that, Ruiz wouldn't have got past 7-8 rounds. He'd have caught him because he can punch. But the way he went about it was totally wrong. And the reason it's wrong, and he went about it wrong, because his mental state wasn't in the fight at all. Because of all the background, the pressure and everything else, whatever it is. So the answer in short, I know I've gone on, but I think he can pull it off in the rematch. Why not?
Do you think he brings it back to the UK?
I think it's sensible for him, yeah. I think he probably does. It would make a bigger statement if he went back and done it over there. But, at the end of the day, you just got to get world titles, and there's a business, and he's got to do what he can. But he certainly needs to box, not stand and try and outgun Ruiz, because I don't see that happening.
Moving on, Dillian Whyte, Oscar Rivas. Dillian Whyte gambling again with his WBC #1 status. Credit's got to be given to him for taking this fight.
Yeah, tremendous credit. These are the fights that you want to see. I've heard Rivas. I've seen him once or twice. Rivas looks pretty useful. So I think it's a good fight. And, both unbeaten. And again, he's got to take the tough route, hasn't he? Because the fights, what he should be getting, are not there for him. He's been #1 for God knows how long. But yet nobody's taking it. And it's sad to see, really. But then again, it's a good thing because when he gets his chance, he's coming up the hard way and he's improving with his fights, I see. So hopefully he comes through this fight as well.
A couple of other fights. We've got Dubois versus Gorman as well. Which way do you see that one going?
A genuine 50-50 fight. That's what makes it so interesting. Both young fighters. Both Gorman's a very good boxer. He's got underestimated power. He can hit himself. And he looks to be solid, durable. He takes a lot of boxes. But then again, Dubois is a big puncher. So it all depends if Gorman gets hit clean, can he take it off him? Like I said, anybody can get hit in this game. Nobody's invincible. So they're both in with a very good chance of winning it.
One man with does seem to get hurt, but he's got a very good chin is Dave Allen in there against David Price, known to be a big puncher. How do you see that one playing out? I think
I've always said David Price is his own worst enemy. It's not the fighter in the ring that does Dave Price. It's himself. He seems to blow up in there, whether it's nervous energy, whatever's going on in his mind. When he goes about it, it's just the way he again, it's the mindset. It's almost like he's going to the guillotine in there when he fights. It's not. What I see with David Price, he just seems to fade as the rounds go on. We see that, but again, it's not what the fighter does. It's almost if the fighter's not getting out of there and he's not chinning them quick, he's draining in confidence all the time, and I think that's his issue. I think if he got his mind right, he'd be a phenomenal heavyweight because he can hit. He's probably one of the hardest punchers in the heavyweight division. 6'8", ticks a lot of boxes. So let's see. Dave Allen, tough as teak, keeps coming forward, and he's been in some good fights, and it's nice to see him turn his career around as well. And I think it's a good domestic fight. Again, it can go either way, though.
Final word on Hughie. July 12th out in Saudi Arabia, Samuel Peter. Why should we tune in? What can we expect from Hughie's performance?
I think look at his performance, see how he's maturing, see how he's coming into his own. And I think you'll see a fine display, and no fight's an easy fight. And like I said, it's the ones you underestimate what you can have a problem with. Only I'm not in the game of underestimating anybody. Because if he was blind and coming in a wheelchair, I'd take it deadly serious. So that's where we are.
Pete Fury, thank you for your time and good luck July 12th.